We're back with another video, another episode of Everybody Hates Black Men. I'm your host, Edward Anderson. Hopefully you all are having a good 4th of July. I know BGS was live. I don't know if he's still live. I was going to do this as a video upload. Actually, I still might, but I just want to put out my thoughts on something. I listened to a video from the Dumper podcast. You also definitely check the dude out. I think he's got a great channel. I think he adds a lot to the space. He kind of gives me, you know, BGS calls Rom like the field master. He kind of has he adds a lot to the space from a field standpoint. And so we're going to jump right into it. So I'm listening to his video, and he's done 2 videos so far. One talk about Haley Bailey and DDG and why black women, and I'll share these videos in the community tab, why black women, you know, are invested in the Haley Bailey situation, mainly the fact they were body shaming her and stuff like that. And the other video is a video on why black women identify with Cardi B, like why black women, you know, the Shade Room contingent identifies with certain women in these situations. The main one was like Cardi B and the dude that she with, the football player, versus Papoose and Clarissa Shields. Why they hate Clarissa Shields? Why do they love Cardi, why do they love the Cardi B relationship and they hate the Papoose and Clarissa Shields relationship? And also keep in mind, I got like two play-by-plays I need to do. I'm probably gonna do those. I'm still debating whether I should do them as actual video, like upload. I should do them as a live stream. We will see, but those are coming. One is with Nate, and one is from Marty, the feminist one, and one is Marty, you know, cooking, you know, mofos is playing. And so keep that in mind, and that's coming soon. That'll probably come like next week, once I get this like 4th of July stuff out of the way. That being said, like I said, you know, so he was breaking it down, and I'm not gonna repeat, you know, the stuff that he said. You should definitely check out the video, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add to it, because he said it was something in the end of the video where he put Clarissa Shields, and Clarissa Shields is wearing booty shorts and saying this you know, behind belongs to Papoose, and women were in the chat talking about it's corny, and even the dude even did a caption talking about it's corny, and then the women just went off. And this kind of helps me really highlight culture, highlight the matriarchy, and what's the actual problem with, you know, black women, you know, as far as the cultural gravity and the fact that dudes essentially are basically following women. I mean, that's just what it is. And this is a cult, and it allows me to highlight a couple of things in a way that people can kind of understand and resonate it better. So to make it simple, a lot of black women do not like Clarissa Shields. And there's a couple of concepts I want to talk about, and I'll probably, you know, do these concepts more sharpened in a actual video, but I want to talk about them now. One concept is called, you know, these are not like brand new concepts. One of them is, the other 2 isn't. What I want to talk about in this video, and I may title it this, like the through line of misandry, or the through line of misandry. So to give you a metaphor, in Star Wars, you know, when the Jedi got killed, right? When the Jedi got killed in Order 66, before that happened, even the Clone Wars was this process of not only terraforming the government, but really amplifying a lot of dark side energy into the Star Wars, you know, the galaxy. It was really helping that to like really grow really faster. It was already really strong because the Jedi lost their ability to kind of see the future with their collective sight, which is why one of the reasons why Sidious was able to do a lot of stuff, and they weren't able to really predict a lot of things, not just Sidious, but a lot of stuff around what was going on, because their sight was messed up. And then towards the Clone Wars was pretty much a process of building up that dark side energy, as well as the political, the like mechanism to give Palpatine more power, blah, blah, blah. But we're mainly focused on the dark side energy. And then when Order 66 actually happened, you know, now you have a galaxy that's not only hostile to Jedi because of propaganda, but you have the Force is actually hostile to the light side of the Force, because the light side of the Force had so much dominance and control for 1,000 years, or 10,000 years, I believe, but let's just say 1,000 years, you know, it kind of flipped. So it's like so my point in talking about that is when you have a situation where the environment is hostile to a certain act, certain behavior, certain things. So we can look at this when it comes to, you know, when freedom, like if you look at, let's take Mexico, that, you know, the cartels are controlling a lot. It's hostile to like freedom of speech, freedom of reporting. You can see this with certain authoritarian, you know, regimes like China, like, you know, Nazi Germany, where there's situations where certain like certain things are very hostile. You know, you can look at this like, you know, in Africa, where LGBT and homosexuality is very hostile. In Africa, it's pretty hostile in a lot of parts in China, a lot of parts of Asia, where like religion is like China is very hostile towards religion, even like Buddhism, which is what you're seeing with the Dalai Lama, who recently turned 90. So I can give you a lot of different, you know, scenarios with this, but my point is, you all understand Star Wars, you understand that, you know, the light side of the Force, it was hostile to this, and so all these Jedi were killed, the Jedi were weakened, and the dark side ruled. And you even saw that in regular humans, as far as a lot of different shit. So my point is, in the black community, this is true in like with America in general, by the way, and there's a couple of videos by Poor Man Podcast I'm gonna share that really communicates this, but I'm talking about the black community specifically, because we're like further along on this path, because this has been a decade, this has been a long time issue, which BGS always talks about. It's hostile to masculinity, it's hostile to security, it's hostile to productivity, it's hostile to order, it's hostile to the things that you need in order to be a competitive group. The community is hostile to it. Like, it's hostile to it, and it's mainly the women, because the women see anything that has to do with order is basically an affront to them doing what they want to do. And so my point, because I want to get real specific with this, because this is like a platform that I can actually spend a lot of different stuff on. But when we say, so when you listen to it, when you look at these situations, like situations Jada Black covers, Dumper covers, I cover, different YouTubers cover, and you look at why do these women do this, you know, this is a common through line. And people will say some but not all, but who is the gravity? What type of women controls the cultural gravity of where women are operating on? And it is not the quote unquote good women. You know this is true, because like, I'll give you an example. I was driving, I was listening to a song, Angel of Mine, with Monica. Monica, in her earlier career, when she made like that first album, that second album, Monica couldn't be who she wanted to be. Monica is a hood chick. The songs that she were making was not hood songs. These were not hood songs. Monica was a hood chick. She could not, they did not want that, because they were looking for a certain look. So she couldn't be who she is. Because you still had a certain decorum back even in the 90s that was expected, because everything hadn't been quite burnt out yet. So you still had a decorum that had to be maintained in order for you to actually be presented as an artist. Remember, this is like Lil' Kim was still a novelty and stuff like that still. And that's all gone now. So it's just like with Chloe Bailey, her type of what she should represent is like a pop star. It doesn't work, because black women don't really like pop music like that. Everything has to be this hood, whorish aesthetic. And it's just, every black woman know, but the black women that are running the yard, this is what they want. And so, you know, unlike black men, where black men have different brands, like, you know, you will never confuse like a Xanatos Clutch with an Angry Man, even though they're both light-skinned, because Xanatos represents a certain brand and Angry Man represents a certain brand. You will never confuse me with a street nigga. You won't. And I'm not saying it's all like one side or the other side, but we have different brands. Even your athletes. You know the hood athletes and the non-hood ones, even within the ones that are absolutely talented. You will never confuse Stephen Curry and Russell Westbrook with a John Morant or even a DeMarcus Cousins. You will not confuse these things. You will not confuse these things. We have very separate brands. We have very separate camps, even to the point where sometimes we go at each other sometimes. These are separate camps. Other races recognize it. We recognize, black people recognize it. You don't have, with black women, they all, even with white women, there are different camps. Britney Spears was basically a Missouri redneck chick, but she had to operate within a certain camp in order to be presented the way they wanted her. She was essentially not even a franchise player. She was essentially a league representative. She was essentially the face of pop music on the female side for years. And there had to be a certain presentation that came along with that. Christina Aguilera did not have to necessarily fit that mold as much because she was a franchise player, but she wasn't a league. She wasn't the face of the league. You see what I'm saying? This is why Angel Reese can get away with certain thought shit, because Angel Reese, even though she's a driver of the WNBA, she is not the face of the league. It's different. It's a different representation and it's a different level of investment. This is why Allen Iverson, they had to subdue Allen Iverson versus LeBron. So I'm giving you different scenarios. My point is that with all of these relationships, the reason why we talk about some of these celebrity relationships, because it tells you, because some people ask, why do we talk about this stuff and it doesn't matter? No, it does matter, because it tells you where the culture is. Social media is one of the best tells of where the culture is and what they culturally value, what they vote for. You have enough of a sample size. I don't want to hear most women are not social media. It's bullshit. That's bullshit. You may be able to run that with dudes a little bit, but with women, that's bullshit. We all know that's bullshit. So at the end of the day, it allows you to kind of see where they actually are and what they really value. Not what they talk about what they value, but what they actually value in these relationships, in what you see in these celebrity relationships. These celebrity relationships are like test cases. And it also tells you in how invested they become in some of these situations. So when you look at a woman like Clarissa Shields, whether it's Clarissa Shields, Simone Biles, Gabby Douglas, there's a through line there. They always want to say these chicks are corny. Now, you never hear women are corny. You never hear that. But all of a sudden now, they want to say Clarissa Shields is corny. Clarissa Shields is a world-class athlete. Clarissa Shields is one of the best female boxers to ever do it. They would never say that with Layla Ali, but they're going to say that with Clarissa Shields. By the way, notice how they're supporting Cardi B over a black woman that looks black, is black, dark-skinned, West African, all of that is representing black excellence. But the reality is, I'm going to tell you the two concepts other concepts that obviously I didn't come up with, but you've heard me use more. Male identified and female identified. They don't like Clarissa Shields because Clarissa Shields is male identified. She comes off as that. It doesn't matter if she is or not. By the way, this is not just with black women. White women are mad at Sabrina because Sabrina Carpenter comes off as male identified. Even though, so if you actually look at Sabrina Carpenter's songs and music, she is a normal pop star with normal pop star sensibilities. Meaning she recognizes the value of having men she recognizes the value of having men not be hostile to her. But at the same time, she is a modern chick with modern chick sensibilities. I wouldn't necessarily say she's a feminist, but she definitely agrees more with it than she doesn't. It's just when you compare her to if you compare her to a Billie Eilish, she seems like an alternative to that. But the reality is she's not, I wouldn't consider Sabrina Carpenter quote unquote male identified. They want to hold that cover that she did over her. But the reality is she's got a song called Man Child right now, which is literally like the white version of like a black woman being with YNs that they may like the dudes, but they think are fundamentally stupid. She literally says this. She literally says this in the beginning of the song. Like, you're, what do you call them? Stupid. What do you call them? Slow. There's a cuter word for it. I know, man child. Literally. That's her song. That's a country song. She veiled it in country music. So this idea that she's like male identified, I wouldn't say all of that. I'm not saying that she's like a feminist and she doesn't like men, but this is what the women will say, because the women are basically, you're either on team whaman, as geeks and gamers would say, or you're not. It's like what Anakin used to say, you're either with me or against me. And then Obi-Wan was like, that's the thought of a Sith, and I gotta do what I must. Only a Sith thinks in absolutes. These women think in absolutes. Men understand it's a spectrum. And it's how tolerant are you gonna be with the spectrum? Meaning, with the spectrum. Versus with women, you're either male identified or you female identified. This is how women look at men. This is how women look when they're assessing if they're gonna subscribe. Like, for instance, with Ticket TV, even though he may go after a Malika Andrews or he'll call it out, Ticket TV is considered female identified. Because it takes a lot for him to really go at a chick. And I'm not, this is what if you were to poll his female listeners, and I like Ticket TV, but I'm just saying, you can tell by how they respond to him that they see him as female. I'll give you another example. Mr. Let Go is not considered female identified. That's why they always disrespect him, even though he operates more in a female space. This is how they think. And so I say all of this to say, because these women, they talk about how misogynistic men are. That's a projection. A lot of women have a very deep, like, think about it. You got women that are bringing up shit that they didn't even experience. They try to say that stuff that happened in the 80s and 70s and what your grandmother went through has nothing to do with what you went through in the dating market. You all are dealing with completely different dating markets, completely different expectations. So for you, it's like, could you imagine if men said, oh, I run through chicks and I don't care about these chicks because once upon a time, what happened in the 80s or 70s as an excuse to actually basically emotionally harm women and not care? That would never fly. Even with men, they would be like, look, you need a better excuse than that. I run through these hoes because in the 70s, in the 60s, that would sound stupid. That would sound stupid. I want you to think of dudes. Imagine dudes saying, yeah, man, I'm dark skinned and I run through chicks because, in the 80s, y'all was picking a light skinned Negro. So F y'all. I'm running through y'all. Imagine if a black man that is my age, that wasn't in the dating market then, was trying to, like, we're talking about dark skinned dude was referencing the 80s as far as why he don't like black women. Yeah, man, y'all was colorist and da-da-da-da. Like, do you understand how retarded that would actually sound? But that's what they do. Because it's not about what you experience, it's what you identify with. And because you identify with ideas, it has nothing to do if it's real or not. You identify with ideas. This is why you can look at The Color Purple, and that's a fictional story that, by the way, black people low-key protested, and y'all act like that's based on it. Y'all use that. That's y'all birth of a nation. I'm talking about the white birth of a nation. That is literally something you use to justify, oh, I know what I'm gonna do. Where are we at? That is something you all actually use to justify operating in a certain way. You got women that low-key justify sticking men up, setting men up to be killed, to be robbed, drugging men. Anything black men do, like you got women that you saw the video I showed, the BGS showed, of women justifying lying, putting a baby on a dude lying. Women that try to justify Haley Bailey, not like it was I saw this yesterday where chicks were talking about he streamed too much. She knew that's who he was when she got with him. In fact, that's why she was a fan. And they try to act like streaming is just like the worst thing in the world, as opposed to her taking her 18-month-old child on the other side of the planet in an environment he doesn't recognize, away from his family, so that only you are there, so you can shoot movies for 4 months. But there's nothing wrong with that when you can't get your body together and you had a year and a half. So my point in saying all of this is, here go the fireworks, is a through line of misandry and deep hatred of men. Because the propaganda told them to, really. Deep hatred. These women actually feel left out if they don't hate men. So a lot of these chicks are basically it's like a gravity, just like you're gravitationally pulled to the dark side of the force. These women are pulled to this, and so anybody that calls it out, even to bring it back into something where people can deal with this, they become pick-me's. Same thing with Cooking with Kaya. When they identify them, you pick me as basically you're male identified. All these black chicks are pick-me's towards white men. But they never consider that pick-meism, because it's a hatred for black men. It's no different than when white women are dealing with black men as a way to spite, some of them to spite white men. Or maybe they may not deal with black men, but they'll talk about a black man as attractive. It is a through line of misandry. And then from that, you have these situations. Cardi B is not considered male identified because Cardi B will drug men. Cardi B is seen as a wild savage, and women identify with the chaos of that. This is why a lot of women didn't like Aisha Curry, because she was considered male identified. This is how these women think. And so when people be confused, it's not about black women. They don't care about light skin, dark skin. All these chicks worship light skinned women. Cardi B, they want to be them. This is why when they throw colorism on black men, that is a projection. That is how they think. Anyway, Johnny Vegas with the $10, much appreciated. Good point, Ed. People can't bring their elders' issues to the current world, especially when men were generally socialized to pedestalize women. Absolutely. But they're looking for something to be a part of the hate men's club, the waiting to exhale club, thin line between love and hate club. They look for these things. They want these things. They need these things. Because otherwise they feel left out. You don't have women, like there's an emerging group, but you don't have women that really draw a real strong line in the sand that certain things are not acceptable. It's not acceptable, and it's not gonna be acceptable. Because a lot of the women that are like that are not going to go one-on-one, because these women will crash all the way out, the other women. And so when you see women trying to, talk crap about Clarissa Shields, Like, when you really think about it, it's because they see her as male identified. And that's how, this is why I say that women are the real ones really gender worn. Men are just asserting their independence. Like, I have a right to live my life the way I want to live it. These chicks will promote dudes being moist and zesty, but turn around and try to say a dude is not a man because he ain't trying to trick off on a chick by paying 100% of her bills. And a lot of dudes will tap into this by presenting themselves as female identified, like Ace Metaphor, like Derek Jackson, when they some of the main ones really harming chicks. They some of the main bastards out here. And this is why a lot of the women don't care, because they perceive these guys as that. And so, you know, I'm going to share the Dumper's last two videos, but yeah, that's what you really have. You have all these women, most of these women are misandric as hell. They have a deep-seated, whether it's hatred of men at the high end of it, or it's they're in competition. I want you, women need to understand something. If a man is in competition, if a woman is, I want to be very clear about this. Women that are in competition with men do not deserve protection. Those are not the women you protect. Women that are in competition with men do not deserve protection. They do not really deserve investment or provision. A woman has no right to demand of a man anything from a man that they're in active competition with. They have no right to demand anything or ask for anything from men in general that they're in competition with. Any black woman that is in, even if you feel some type of way, if a black man is doing better than you, you do not deserve protection and provision from black men, and that is what it, and that protection and provision is wasted. And any of you niggas that are in competition with women that are in competition with you, you are goofy ass niggas. These women, notice how you don't ever see black women in competition with any other race of man when they're in that relationship. Even you never see that. There is a reason for that. And like BGS said, they fundamentally think they're better than you. A man is not supposed to be with a woman that thinks that she is better than him. It's not. And so at worst, these women hate men. At best, they have a posture of absolute competition that they're socialized into, their culture's into. I'm not here to correct them. Like, your job is not to correct women. Your job is to identify women that are this way and deal with them accordingly. Really, you shouldn't be dealing with them at all, or deal with them at an arm's distance. Meaning, you do what you need to do to get what you need to get out of them, and no more. 50 Cent is actually a good example of somebody that actually does this fairly well. Your job is not to be in competition with women. You niggas need to stop trying to, this is not loving basketball. Stop trying to fight for these chicks' hearts. Stop trying to win them over. Remember when Obama ain't even African American. Remember when, like, well, you know, in the sense of ADOS or FBA. Remember when Obama used to say, damn, that's loud. He used to say how Michelle didn't like him at first. And then he had to fight for her, he had to win her over. You see how after the fact she's disrespecting him. That shit never changed. Talk about she glad. Like, I want you to understand, that is some of the most disrespectful. You gotta remember, Obama's dad was Kenyan. That is some of the most disrespectful shit you could ever say to a dude that you glad you didn't have his son because he be another you? That's what Michelle said. You see how goofy that is? This is not no silent generation or boomers. Ain't no nigga fighting for no chick's heart. Talking about, oh, well, you know, I had to win her over. You niggas are stupid because you don't really win her over. That's a game you all play with yourself. That's a game y'all play with yourself, man. I don't know. I've never understood why dudes actually think shout to Landon think that's like some yeah, man, she didn't like me for real, you know, but I had to win her over and now we're together. That tells me you automatically know that she really don't fool with you like that. If you gotta win her over, she's settled. That's why these women be talking about they'd rather be alone than settle, because that's how they feel in that situation. Straight up. And we don't know if Michelle had an abortion. For all you know, these chicks could be getting secret abortions because they want just daughters, and you subsidizing that. You don't know. She ain't got to tell you. But you're supposed to tell her if you're going to get paternity tested. And so that's the main thing I wanted to really highlight, man. That through line of misandry that these chicks have, that gravitational, all these things, they always view it from a misandric point of view. Always. It's always, you know, it's always competition with men. And any woman that is female, and this is why I've always talked to y'all about men protecting women against other women, because these women will bully women that they consider male identified, even if these women are not actively acting male. If they don't believe that they're male identified, if these women believe they're male identified, they will bully them. They will bully them into submission. They don't care. They are relentless. And where is their protection? And then you wonder why you wake up and all these women don't fool with you. Because this goes back to when I said it's cheap to mess with you. This is why it's cheap to mess with you. This is why it's cheap to mess with you. Like, these are things that dudes don't like. Most dudes don't even think about this. Black men do not think about power. They don't. Black men do not think about power. Black men do not understand power. Just like how these chicks can't cook and clean and they can't clean themselves. Black men are just as bad when it comes to power and power dynamics, power talk. Like, honestly, we really need to start going over the 48 laws of power. We need to start, really, there needs to be a course. I'm not even joking. And I'm not saying I know everything when it comes to this, but there needs to be a course on personal power, group power, because a lot of black men do not understand real power is in a collective. Because, like, even somebody, Robert Smith is worth $10 billion. All it took was a $300 million accounting error in order to, try to mess him up. You see what happened with, like, power is a group thing. Power is a group sport. And black men purposely, deny it, don't talk about it. They don't like to, really speak on it. Really? And this is why dudes put so much emphasis on things like game and stuff like that in order to get around really talking about that for real. That's really why that is. This is why you have and by the way, when you really look at the culture, if you really look at the culture and look at, like, a lot of the Jim Crow and stuff happened all the way up until the 60s. And then this is where a lot of the black exploitation kind of mindset came from. Even Tariq Nasheed talked about that pimp mindset. It all came from the aftermath of what our stuff constantly getting messed with and burnt down. So this is why white boys can't really deal with it. We've already had to endure what they're even just not dealing with, and I don't think they're really capable of dealing with it. Because they have a certain level of entitlement. So when it comes to power, so I say all that because a lot of dudes don't see that. This is why when dudes see women bullying other women, or some dudes will actually join along, this is where you really see you're in a matriarchy. That's what you're in. Dudes go out of their way to try to pump up ratchet chicks. They go out of their way to prove they love black women. You don't never see black women trying to prove they love black men, but black men are constantly trying to fall over their feet to prove they got this undying love for black women, even the ratchet among it. You can even see in the DDG situation, dudes just so cleanly want to decide with Haley Bailey. All this assumption of who DDG was, even dudes that are supposed to be in the know and quote unquote tapped in like Joe Budden. It was the same thing with Kevin Samuels. Like, a lot of dudes had to actually retract a lot of statements because a lot of these dudes had these opinions, yo. They had these opinions on Kevin Samuels because the clip they were showing, and they had to switch up. And quiet as kept, a lot of these dudes switched up after he had a conversation with Nicki Minaj. And the women are never going to hold this up as a problem because the women don't want you to be more powerful. Women do not want you to have power that you can make. It's not even about lever over them. They don't want you to have choices because you don't have to control women. You can control the environment. This is why they don't like Passport Bros. Yo, I saw the most evilest TikTok channel, yo. I can't even tell you some of the stuff she was trying to say. But the Passport Bros just want to deal with sexy young women and da-da-da, like any man does. What are you talking about? And at the end of the day, dudes are looking for women's permission to act. As long as you do that, you will never be nothing. Because those women want you under their thumb. And a lot of dudes don't fundamentally believe that. For real. They don't believe that that's the culture. And so at the end of the day, by the time they figure that out, they already effed up out here. So that's the main thing I just wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about how all these relationships and how the women see it. They see it through this misandric through line. And this is why we bring these things up. We bring these things up in order to highlight to you all that this is a culture and this is unacceptable. You cannot have a black community the way the women are right now. And quite frankly, when people say, what's my solution? My solution is men should men should pull out any resource. I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. Men should pull out any resource, protection, provision, every time, everything. And let that shit stand on its own. and re-put that somewhere else. If somebody were to ask me, I say all this stuff, how do you actually deal with it, or do you not have an answer for that? I absolutely have an answer. The best way men can dominate women in a way that women they cannot fight it is women don't build. The one thing that men do that women do not do, and it is against their nature to do, is to build. And even if women do build, which doesn't happen, but let's say they did, women don't want to build shit for themselves. They want men to give it to them. So women do not, this is why women do never spend as much money on themselves as they expect a man to spend it on them. Men spend as much money on themselves, more money, you know, we get it because we're men. If we have to get it for ourselves. It doesn't count if a man isn't giving it to him because there is a validation there. That's how women receive validation of their womanhood. They cannot validate their womanhood from another woman. It doesn't work that way. It is against their core BIOS, not operating system, their core BIOS. For computer guys, you know what I'm talking about. They cannot get around it. And for men, that's the biggest advantage we will always have over them. That is not socialization. That is who they are. And as a result, the reason why black men have a problem with black women, even the way they are, and this is legal, by the way, is if you build something, you can even see this individually. When you build something that other women want to, you build something that you control who gets to participate in and who doesn't, the women have no choice but to submit to that, because if they don't submit, once you demonstrate that women that they see are equal or greater value will go, aka white women, then at that point they have no choice but to submit to that, because if they don't, they won't belong. Why the hell do you think women hate Myron, but they stay going on Fresh and Fit? Why? Let me give you a guess. Because the white chicks go on there. That's why. So even though Myron is a lame to them, because the white chicks validate it, and I'm not saying it just has to be white women, but my point is, even amongst black women, you get other black women on board, then the other women are absolutely forced to comply. And if they don't comply, they will be removed. That is how that works. And that is why women will go out of their way to make sure they undermine the boys and redirect the men to not build. It is the one thing they cannot counter. This is why they can't stand passport bros, because the reality is that is a threat. Because if too many men start doing that and that becomes cool, they have no counter. And not only do they now have no counter to the men that they want, the reality is the men that they don't want but they need to subsidize them won't. It's because it's a cheaper, when I say cheaper, it's not just cheaper monetarily, it's cheaper in time, in stress, in effort. And once you do that, you already know what time it is. You already know what time it is in any market once that. So what they try to do is destroy the reputation destruction, as Jordan Peterson said, of men. You even see that with the white women. They destroy the reputation in order to try to hair that out. They do underhanded tactics in order to try to curb that out. because they see that as a threat. Black men are just, now these are the same women that they go on their girls trips and stuff like that. They go on their girls trips and that's not a problem. But God forbid you get dudes to go and travel and see the world. They see that as an existential threat. And if you notice, dudes, when they have this conversation, they purposely stay away from that. Like, a lot of these dudes want to play this high school cool game shit. Saying, and what make it so bad is all these dudes that be talking shit, it's not like they got bad bitches or anything like that. These niggas, a lot of these niggas don't even never want to show their face. Because these niggas want to, like, for real. Because it's not even about being quote unquote male identified, female identified. They know the money is with the women. And rather than actually building something, because truth be told, men really have to, honestly, men have, just like how the black community has to build their own stuff, the men have to, black men have to build, like, there's got to be a male version of, like, everything. Like, when it comes to communication, all of that. Because we live in a matriarchy and you're never there, your side is never going to be said. The real side. I'm still here. I'm ordering something. I'm still here, y'all. All right, appreciate it. Have a good day. Put that to see us, okay? Thank you so much. I mean, so here's my thing. Nobody really explains this on the passport thing. I get what you're saying about the sustainability, but but with the passport thing, first of all, the idea of passport traveling is not to say, okay, I'm taking all my dating overseas, so now I'm dating only overseas. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. Like it. So that's where the sustainability, I get where you're coming from with that. The problem is it's supposed to be supplementary. You traveling is supposed to be supplementary. Meaning, if you travel, like, let's say, for And there's purposes in doing that. So, because let's say down the road you looking to get married. Well, if you ain't been nowhere, then you don't know what you're dealing with. So there's a learning curve there. So you need to travel initially in order to kind of see what you want, what you like, blah, 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 blah. But let's say you travel every 90 days, that's 4 times. Every 4 months, that's 3 times. You travel annually, that's once every 6 months. And I'm gonna keep it real with you, man. Like you can Uber. Like if you say I want to travel every 4 months, I mean, really every 3 months, but like every 4 months, even if you ain't got a job like that, you could Uber your way into doing that. And then it depends on where you traveling. You could Uber your way into doing that, real talk. Truth is, you could Uber your way into doing that. You definitely could Uber your way into doing it annually. That's not hard. You calculate the money. You say, okay, what days do I want to Uber? Where the money is? Like you could say, and on top of saving up, you can do that without cutting a lot of what you do. A lot of people don't think about that. So it's like, it's just a matter of, okay, what is it that you're trying to do? What is it you really want to do? And then there's levels to it. I know Marty does it the high end, the way you should do it, but there's levels to doing it. I mean, there's pretty much fixed costs in what it is to travel. It's not hard. Like even right now, like on the 4th of July, if you Uber on the 4th of July, you can probably make $500 in a day. You can definitely make a lot of that in the weekend. Like a lot of people don't really understand. So it's a lot more accessible than you think. It really is. But the reality is, the goal is not to just be traveling to be traveling. The goal is intentional. What information you're trying to learn, gather. You know, where are you going? Why? What are you looking for? What are things you need to do? Like, do you need to learn Spanish? Do you want to do this? Like, again, power is intentional. And again, black men aren't told that because, again, nobody wants you. Nobody's going to teach you about having power. You have to teach yourselves about that. I know that's the way people are coming off with, but also at the same time, man, like a lot of y'all be on YouTube. So YouTube ain't necessarily where all the education is. Some of that stuff is like, Marty's got a Patreon that's like $20, $10. A lot of that is in the Patreons. The game is to be sold, not told. And so a lot of people, and again, I'm gonna tell you like this, man. Here's my thing. I'm not here to convince you to travel. Like, black men always have this thing where it's like, well, I need to be. No, fuck you being convinced. Like the thing about it is, what I just said, I shouldn't have to tell you. If you actually have intention on wanting to travel, I shouldn't have to spoon feed that to you, because that stuff you get with your own research. Dudes want to be sold. And it's like, no, I'm not. Just like for example, when I'm teaching people how to make money online, yeah, people used to they want us to be sold. Now they don't need to be sold because now they see that AI coming for their job. So now that's the reach back I be getting. Dudes circling back. Because now they interested. Because now they know their job might not be there. So all of that education I had to do, I don't got to do that no more. I'm telling you right now, I say this all the time, and I'm not yelling at you. I'm just highlighting the seriousness of it. I always say, dudes be like, if my default is to tell you not to travel, if I got to convince you, don't. Because I'd rather you not travel than travel, get effed up out here, and then people want to have a jihad on Passport Bros. Now, I don't speak on Passport Bros a lot because I'm not currently traveling. But I would have no, if y'all want me to kind of go deeper into that, I could definitely have that kind of, like, that would be like something I'd have to have Clutch on, Marty on, somebody is actively traveling, and then we could have that conversation. But a lot of dudes be like, it come off as is, I mean, some of y'all got to read between the lines, but the reality is a lot of y'all have resistance to it, and I'm not here to convince you to do something you don't want to do. I'm not. I already see where stuff is going. If y'all want to deal with the BS here, deal with it. I'm here to, when we talk about traveling, I'm just talking about it's out here and it's available. That's it. If you have questions, there are answers. Like I just answered your concern. It wasn't a question, it was more of a concern. And I did think it was valid, as I said before, which is why I went into detail and answered it. But what a lot of people do is they be asking all these questions or these concerns because they heart ain't in it. They really don't believe it. They really feel some type of way about dudes that do travel. And so that's really, ain't nobody, like, you be saying relax, but the reality is, dude, I stay having trolls, and you ain't got no, you ain't got your icon in order either. So I stay having trolls up in here. So it's not about me relaxing and all of that. If you've been in my chats, you know. So yeah, this is kind of a forewarning to everybody. There's answers to questions. There are. And you said you've traveled. Okay, well then you should have said what I said. Because what I said is common sense. What I said is not like this, like, super, oh my God, I can't believe he broke it down. Man, where the fuck am I at? So yeah, you know, people always want to talk about other, and by the way, everybody always talks about chat. Like, y'all need to name these channels, because y'all love talking about people with passports, but it becomes this ambiguous. It means anything and everything, and nobody never names like certain channels and shit. I'd be like, name these mofos. I want to know, because if people are not giving the proper information, then shit, they should be called out. You should have. I don't disagree with anything you're saying. But I will say this though, this idea, like when you travel first and second and third times, like this idea that you need to have established economic networks, and no, that's bullshit. No, you don't. Not to that degree. Not to that degree. If you got a job making over $50,000 a year, if you got a job, an apartment, and a car, you can travel. That's all you need. You talking about niggas like living overseas. That's what you talking about. That's not the same thing. Nigga, whoever is under the Black Brain Trust account, get your, don't bring your bitch ass over here being stupid, because I will block you with the quickness. I will. You putting up my videos like some hoes. You don't want me to fucking break the dumbass shill shit y'all say down. You really don't want me to do a play-by-play on your dumbass. Only motherfuckers that watch y'all are motherfuckers that don't like somebody else. So don't come in here with that dumbass shit. You got a fucking question, ask it. Yeah. So clearly, hold on. I'm gonna give you one more chance to ask me an actual question like a man. I'm gonna give you one more chance to ask me an actual question like a man, or are you going to be a bitch? Let's see. I'm waiting. Nigga, I don't even come to y'all shit. Yeah, unblock them. Let me see if you gonna ask a question. I don't know who this is because they all group under that moniker. No, I unhit him. Yeah. Let's see if you gonna ask a question like a man or you gonna come in here like a bitch. And I don't even know who this is. Oh, please do. Like, I swear to God, these niggas are jealous-hearted niggas, man. I can't stand a righteous nigga. I can't stand a jealous-hearted niggas. Ain't nobody saying nothing, mentioning nobody, but they come in here, oh, please do. Like, you niggas need to keep my dick and BGS's dick out of your mouth. Like, straight up. They were never peak. I'm waiting on the question. Or are you just trolling? I'm waiting on the question. I mean, this nigga come in here and talk about, oh, really? Like I mentioned they bitch ass. This is how you know these motherfuckers. I'm not AB, man. I don't be thinking about y'all like that. I don't be clipping what y'all say in emails. Once the election went the way it went, I knew then y'all really be on some shill shit. Y'all don't really know what the fuck. Y'all, I don't see no difference between you and Amazing Lucas. Y'all just use bigger words. By the way, speaking of Amazing Lucas, anybody that listens to Amazing Lucas on some liberal shit, you're an idiot. No, I know you're not telling brothers. Like, honestly, Blastoise, I'm taking what you saying and I'm using what you saying as a way to piggyback off of it. It ain't really me going at you saying you're incorrect. But a lot of what you're saying is what's kind of out there. It's this idea that black men are like sending black men on send-off missions. And that's not the intention. And a lot of people like to use that. But I am saying, what you saying that you got to have all this economic, no, you don't. And the reason why is because unless you're going to travel, like, unless you're going to live overseas. Notice how he's been unhidden. They can talk. Notice how now he ain't got nothing to say. I want y'all to notice that. Yeah, so like I'll get somebody like Marty to speak on that, because the thing about it is there's answers to these questions, but people, like, again, these women are not rich when they be going on these girls trips, but nobody really worries about that. But with dudes, it's all this extra stuff. Lucas is an opportunist. That's what Lucas is. Lucas is an opportunist. Lucas was searching for anything to keep his channel from dying. And to be fair, he found it. He found some morons. I'm waiting. Yeah, a lot of these dudes, like, you understand, a lot of these dudes need to get out of the American environment because they don't know what they don't know. And so the first time is more like a rite of passage because you got to get your passport and get all that anyway. So, but if you start talking about living overseas, then absolutely you're right. Yeah, you need that. You need more economic footing. But if you talk about taking a trip here or there, that's a different thing. It's not the same thing. Shout out to J-Bay. Talk about he a bleeding, like as if everybody forgot about I mean, at the end of the day, man, if you fall for scare tactics, then you shouldn't travel anyway. Because what I don't want is dudes traveling and they get messed up. But again, that's why I always point out, these women never, you don't have this anti-black female traveling movement. You don't have that. Nobody has been able to explain to me why that is. Even though women are far more in danger when they travel without men. You never hear that. He's up there. But hey, I ain't mad at him. If there's morons that'll listen to him. And yeah, if you listen to Lucas about politics, you're stupid. You're stupid to me. You notice how you ain't got them talking about no low information voters when it comes to Amazing Lucas. Exactly, Xanatos. That's why I be like, I always ask, who do people be listening to? Because I'm trying to understand where you're getting this information from. But no, it's just like with the manosphere. Nobody never like says that. Nobody never says, if you say Coach Greg Adams, I don't listen to Coach Greg Adams like that, but I know enough about what he says to know he don't be just throwing out stupid stuff. Nobody never wants, everybody like, well, who you listen to manosphere? I listen to Byron, I listen to Andrew Tate. Okay, so what specifically did Andrew Tate say? If you say Myron just repeats red pill for dummies content. What does Myron actually say that's wrong? And there are some things, like you got to have 50 bodies before you get married. That is not correct. I agree with Andrew Wilson on that. That is not necessary. That's more some black shit. I do agree with that. I do agree to what Andrew Wilson said, that that's not correct. So yes, but nobody never gets specific. Just like Blastoise said, he said, you know, like you need to have money. And I further clarify what that actually means depending on what you do. Because what Blastoise said is no different than what Marty says. The difference is Marty lives overseas. There's a difference between traveling overseas and living overseas. Yeah, when you live overseas, you need layers upon layers of stuff. Because you need protection. Otherwise, you're going to be out here. You've seen that. So I agree with that. You've seen that with Austin. You've seen that with other people. I agree with that. But if you just traveling and you're coming back, not necessary. Even if you want to do it pretty well. So it's not me saying he's dead wrong. I'm just saying this is where what he says is right. And if you're right, I'm not about to say, oh, I'm right, you're wrong. I'm going to just say, this is where I agree. This is where it's really this, and this. And that's my opinion. But you have dudes that they're real. I'm not saying this is Black Story, but you have dudes where their real agenda be, I don't want dudes to travel because I'm female identified. And the women don't like men traveling. So what they do is they try to clown you, or they try to, you know, soft shoe it. And that's another reason why a lot of it's these content creators' responsibility to have these answers out here, to constantly be answering these questions. Because when people have legitimate questions, understand there's answers for everything. There's websites for everything. But dudes don't do that. Dudes get ultra defensive. And people can say, I got defensive, but at the end of the day, I answered the question. Dudes will get defensive. I call out travel people because I want them to be better. Because I know what dudes be wanting to do. Yeah, these niggas come in here, oh, really? Being stupid, like they got superior content. Nigga, you don't got superior content. Like, niggas kill me with that. Yeah, man, our content is better. No, the fuck it isn't. Most of you niggas are like y'all are not as smart as you think you are, man. You all really think you're smarter than what you are. You really do. Anyway, let me deal with this shit before I. I mean, you can be pro build. You can absolutely be pro building. I'm pro building. That's how I come at the pro black. I'm pro building. I'm not pro necessarily living overseas, and I've always been upfront with that. Yeah, Vegas, damn, they like that. But women like, and it's not like, dude, you gotta, don't even get me started, man. Don't even get me started. Like, we know what it is. They want you subdued because so they can control you. And to me, that's some evil. That's evil. Like, I'm gonna be real with you. Like, you want to subdue your son. It's like you want your son subdued, but you still need him to build. That doesn't go together. But what it is they want you to control, build for them. That makes you a white supremacist in my eyes. And you got a lot of women that they're basically pseudo white supremacists. They're playing plantation politics in their homes. They are. And men, and that's why men say, man, you ain't go stand up to your to the white man, but you stand up to the black woman. You niggas don't stand up to the black woman either. The black woman is the white man light. That's why I always laugh when they talk about the white men, the black men, or the white men in the black community. I'm like, even white men, even racists was like, no, no, it isn't. Everybody laughed at people saying that. It's like, no, that's not right. Anyway, y'all, it's been great, but I gotta go. Like I said, be looking out some various stuff. Shout out to Lennon with the 2000. They do need to travel more. And I personally think the more black men that travel, the more black builders you'll get. The problem is black men have this corner store mentality, on the block mentality. They don't actually build because they need to be in an environment. They need to see something different. It's just like when you have a hero's journey and you become a better person. Luke Skywalker had to go through what he went through. Name anybody. They had to go through what they went through in order to become the person they ended up becoming. Niggas are not going to become builders on the corner. But anyway, much appreciated, y'all. With that being said, this is Edward signing off.